10 minutes, I need to talk about the difference between startups in the US, startups here, right? So that's something that I would like to sort of go through. And then I think once I'm done with that, then basically I would want it to be very Q&A based, like so you can ask me a few questions. And whenever we are done, we'll go.
So we are live. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of the inaugural season of Breaking Conventions, a brand new YouTube series produced by IIIT Pune, powered by JustPay in association with Algo University. I am Suryansh from the entrepreneurship cell of IIIT Pune. Well, sitting here today, I feel honored. I feel honored to share this screen with such an amazing person. Mr. Ankush Singla people could very well be described as someone who is self-made, a person with a beautiful smile and who built literally everything up from the scratch all by himself. He comes from a very humble background from the state of Haryana. He went on to join the most prestigious institute in our country, IIT Delhi, for his undergraduate studies in the branch of computer science, following which he went on to join Stanford University for his master's. And I'm sure all of you must be aware of the timeline feature on Facebook, which we received when we were on the very initial phase of a social networking journey. Well, that too was also developed by the team of which Sir was part of. After receiving all that, he decided to do something for our education system. He returned back to India, leaving everything behind, but carrying a spark and a lot of motivation to begin his amazing entrepreneurial journey. A journey with a motive and a passion which everyone should surely be inspired of. Hello, sir, and welcome to IIIT Pune, and we are honored to have you here.
Thank you so much, Ram. That was a beautiful, beautiful introduction. Thanks a lot for. I'm sure you spent good amount of effort in sort of writing that. Thanks a lot for that, and really, really excited to be part of this this beautiful sort of series that you guys have launched. I think it's very important that students who are in colleges sort of realize that this is also one path that they can consider. This is something that they can learn a lot from and potentially can be, honestly, I think like 1 year spent as an entrepreneur really teaches you 5 years that you will spend if you decide to go for, let's say, an Amazon or a Google or any sort of that company. Like I think your learning gets expedited like almost 5 times when you're trying to build something on your own. And it's just crazy the sort of things you will have to learn and the kind of journey it is, right? So if you like that adrenaline rush, if you like that, so one thing I generally say is that if you love poker, you should definitely sort of consider doing this, because that'll just give you that high day in, day out, that I need to take care of this. This is something, and you'll be far more in control compared to cards. So not telling people to start gambling, but I think like this is a gamble which is far more in your control, and that's something that everybody should sort of experience. Whoever sort of feels the sort of the energy of towards this, right? Definitely should explore this. Yeah.
Definitely not a gamble which you can control, but you should definitely know it before you enter it. So
Absolutely.
Before I start this session, sir, I have this little question. And so today, am I speaking to a Haryanvi carefree boy, or am I speaking to a very obedient and disciplined graduate from Stanford?
Right. So I think it's a mixture of all, right? Like that's basically what makes you, right? Like all the experiences that you have gone through. I think there is always this a little aggressive, and I would say sort of side of mine, which basically comes through. I would say that Haryanvi nature, right? Like that's what you mentioned. But along with that passion, the feel to do something great, that does come from the fact that I think I have had the chance to interact with, work with, study with a lot of amazing people at IIT Delhi as well as Stanford, who were really, really motivated, who really wanted to do something for their life and like for the society in general. And I think like that's something that has definitely shaped the way I sort of think, the way I sort of like to look at things. But I think one part that has really transformed the way I think, or the sort of skills I have, is definitely the last few years where I've sort of tried to build something on my own. Yeah, so I think like the amount of learning I've had, the amount of at a level like in between phases, the amount of stress I have had, the amount of happiness I have felt, the amount of pride I have felt, I think it's unparalleled that I felt in the last 5 years of coding ninjas compared to, let's say, like anything else that I would have done before. So definitely one very big part of my personality now is the entrepreneur journey that I've gone through.
Hmm. So basically, all in all, you have gained a lot through the community, but throughout the journey, you are still connected to the roots which you belong to.
I think like as you grow, right? Like how much you can change starts getting lower and lower. So a lot of your personality gets built up. I think your undergrad period is when you actually build a lot of personality. The
Right.
reason being that that is mostly the time when you are on your own. Before that, you are mostly living with parents. They are the one who are sort of taking care of you. You don't have much to sort of control
Hmm.
yourself, right? So that's when basically I think a lot of personality gets built in. But like the first 17 years are definitely when you are sort of your perceptions towards society, your perception towards what's right, what's wrong, all of that gets made, right? So definitely that's something I think for anybody, right? Even if somebody like when I'll reach 60, I'm sure whatever I've learned in those initial years will definitely keep playing playing a part into the my whole experience. And one thing that I do believe, so when I was in IIT, I always used to feel that eventually I want to do something in education. And the primary reason for that is that I am from a tier three sort of a city where I felt that I did not have as many opportunities as I would have liked. For
Right.
example, when I came to IIT, I got to know what Olympiads are, what NTSE is. I had zero clue about that. Nobody in my
Hmm.
batch, in my school, was talking about it. I think things are better now. Like in these smaller towns, also people are talking about these things. But if I talk about when I was in school, I had zero clue about all of these things. Honestly, I didn't even know what computer science is, and
Hmm.
I got a great rank, and everybody told me this is the branch you should get into, and I got into that. Right, like I had never written any program. My school didn't even have computer science as an option in 11th and 12th.
Hmm.
So these are sort of things that, like if you think about it, the reason I am in education trying to build something is because that sort of journey that I went through. That I feel that there are so many people who are not able to get the best of education because where they live, how much money they have, and a bunch of other things. So I think that all of that can change with edtech getting better and better. And I think like where you are, where what you can do will sort of become just limited to what you want to do, how much energy you want to put in, how much aspirations you have. I think that's something that I'm looking to do, and a lot of people in a tech community are looking to.
So basically, what you are trying to do is you are trying to equate the opportunities for everyone, and for the person to achieve what he wants to be, that should be in the other person's hand rather than the opportunities deciding that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, two things I would like to add here. I think one thing is that the area that we are focusing on, which is computer programming and helping people learn better, I don't think there is that much tier one, tier two, tier three. I think everybody equally bad in terms of colleges to take care of, except like the top few colleges which are distributed
Hmm.
in top cities, in outside top cities as well, which are basically doing a good job, a decent job. There also, I would argue, it's a lot to do with that the best of the students are going there and they are able to take care of themselves
Right.
compared to like I think that is one part. Second part is just to sort of prove that this is something that we really believe in, right? Like 1.5 year ago, we launched a program which I'm extremely proud of. Is that you don't pay upfront. You learn through us. We teach you for free. We take your mock interviews. We solve your doubts within an hour. We take care of everything that you need to do, and we help you get a job. And once you get a job, and if you get a job, then you pay, right? So
Right.
the idea behind that model is extremely simple, that what you have today, we do not want that to become a blocker in you for you to get the right opportunities.
Hmm.
So we will help you get to a place where you are capable of paying for the education, where you are capable of taking care of yourself. And if we fail in doing that, if we are not able to get you there, then please don't pay us. We don't deserve that. Right? Like
Right.
it's as I like if you would ask me, I would love to see that our education system, at least the professional education system like engineering colleges, if they move to something of this sort,
Hmm.
just think about how better it would be engineering schools will have to sort of take care of their kids to make sure they get the right jobs. Yeah, I think this will become very very they'll go into very different direction, and I'm not sure how many students would be interested in understanding this and going into depth of this. So yeah, so let's move on from this. Yeah.
So basically, that I must also want to add on to that, like financial burden or financial restraint is something which is uh, a thing which is there in our country. We don't have that much of scholarships, and the thing which you are doing, which Coding Ninja is doing, is something definitely everyone should follow. That after the person is skilled enough to get that job, then only he should pay it. So moving on, do you feel that due to lack of opportunities, you were constrained by something, or you were restricted by something, or things would have been different if the opportunities with you would have been different at that time?
So I won't say that I was not able to get to what I would have done if I had the opportunities. I do feel that I did not have, my mind was not that open. For example, I knew that there are some colleges called IITs and which are amazing. People like to go there. I had zero clue what engineers are supposed to do, right? A lot of it is basically due to the fact that I do have an elder brother who is a doctor and who
Yes.
made sure that I am guided throughout the path, right? And he's letting me know that these are the things which are you need to take care of. These are the things that you need to work upon, right? So that's something that I think a lot I do owe to him, and I'm always sort of vocal about that. But I think overall, the reality is that the first time I used computers was to check my JEE result, right? Like I had zero clue about what this thing is, and then I sort of decided that I want to become a computer science engineer just because I got an amazing rank. So and I had to, like, during those 2 years of JEE prep, I used to travel 1 day a week to Delhi, which was like 8 hours of travel to attend a 4 hours class, right?
Right.
That's something I used to do once a week, every week. And there used to be like really bad December, January months when I used to hate that. But like otherwise, like this is how sort of like I spent those 2 years. So I think I was able to do all of those things because somebody was there to sort of guide me that, hey, this is the best thing for you, go ahead and do it. I had zero answer why this is the best thing for me or why do I need to do this, but at least somebody had that sort of idea and I was able to. But I could see a lot of people around me, they had zero clue. They had no idea why they are doing something, why they should not be doing something, right? Like it was just, I think everybody just flowing with the river and wherever things are going with them. And I think that's true for a lot of people, not just from tier 2, tier 3 cities. I think that's, for example, go to any great college. For example, like when I was graduating from IIT Delhi, when we were sitting for placements, everybody applied for all sort of companies. That means I personally applied for consulting companies, for banking companies, for tech companies, for management consulting, right? Like, so I was applying for all sort of companies. Now that's horrible. That means I have no clue what I want to do. That means
Right.
I have zero clue about what I want from my life, and I'm okay giving my life to anybody who wants to pay me enough. That's so
Right.
sad, right? Like that's not something that how we should be sort of living our lives. We should know what we want to do, how we want to sort of like what are the things that we like, what are the things we don't like. And I think a lot of people path corrected, right? Like in next 2-3 years, I saw a lot of people who went into banking, came back to tech. A lot of people who went to tech, then they decided to move to do an MBA and go to some other direction. But
Right.
then what was the use of those 4 years? Those 4 years is exactly when I think all of us should realize what we want to do.
Right.
That's why I tell all my students that you need to do internships, you need to go out, you need to work with companies to realize what you want, what you like. And I think that can only happen once you reach a certain skill set. Ideally, in these 4 years, you should reach a skill set where you are not insecure that whether you will get a job or not. You should feel confident that I have enough skills, I will get a job. The question is, where do I want to work? Do I
Right.
want to work with the smaller company? Do I want to work with the larger company? Do I want to work in tech? Do I want to work somewhere else? But that feeling that I can decide is not something that you will see in people. Everybody is so insecure that I don't know if I'm going to get a job. And I think like only when you reach a certain skill level, that you start feeling that. And that's something that you need to target. What you need to target is that I want to reach a level where I am not worried about whether I'm going to get a job or not. I want to explore what I would like, and I would like to work in that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, everyone should take control of his or her own life and decide what he wants to do in future, rather than just sitting and wasting his life.
Right. So, and I think that's not going to automatically happen, right? Like all of us are insecure. All of us want to make sure that we are able to get those jobs. So, initially, you might have to do some sort of an internship that you might not enjoy. And that's perfect. You learned that this is not something that you're enjoying. Then you try something else. But you need to make sure that you have the skill set to actually make that choice. Right, like the perfect proverb where we like beggars cannot be choosers. Like if you don't have the skills,
Right.
you will have to behave like a beggar who will just
Correct.
have to take whatever they get, right? Like, but if you do work hard and you reach a certain level, okay. So for example, I'm sure like when we talk about my journey, we'll not talk about this, but just want to give you an example. When I left Facebook and I felt that I want to move back to India to start something, uh, my simple logic at that time is I had a feeling if I want to get a job, I will get a job. If I want to get a job in Facebook, I will get that job back. If I want to get a job in Amazon, I'll get that. If I want to join a startup, I'll get that job. If I
Right.
want to move back to US, I can always do that. So I always had that confidence in myself that I'm not losing anything. I'm just taking out 2 years of my own life and I'm deciding that this is how I want to spend it. If nothing goes well, I can just move back to my current life and continue with that. And that was extremely important for me to not be very, very insecure when I'm trying to build something on my own. Even now, I sort of know if nothing works out, I am not worried. Like my life will be okay. I will still make enough money. I can always get a job. I'll get decent amount of money, and everything will be fine, right? So I think that basic sort of confidence on yourself is extremely important.
So basically, you yourself were a cushion to fall upon if things didn't work out, because you believed in yourself much greater as compared to whatever any other thing you believed in.
Right. See, so what happens, right? Like I want to do tens of things, right? I want to like one day I want to. So I've had times when I've said that, hey, I just want to shift to some beach. I have like phases when I've said that I want to move to mountains. I have had phases when I've said that I want to play poker full time. I have had times when I would have said that I want to take an year off and like I want to travel. But I don't do most of those things, right? Like, but if, for example, when I felt I want to start something on my own, that didn't seem like that big a step to me because I knew I'm not, I will learn a lot and whatever career I have is not going away anywhere. I can always come back to it. And whatever I learn will make sure that I'll have a pretty fast growth once I come back. And I think that sort of safety net is extremely important. And I do suggest everybody to build that confidence in yourself before you jump into start something. Starting something will test you to like levels that you can't even imagine in terms of your patience, in terms of your skills, in terms of your like financial capabilities and everything. I always tell everybody that you should have enough sort of financial savings with yourself so that you can just survive yourself. That's not much in India, right? I think like any bachelor can live a decent life at 25,000 rupees in a decent sort of a city, right? Like obviously how much you can spend, there is no limit. But like I think if you really are an entrepreneur, you won't have much of a time to spend money on, right? So I think you'll be okay sort of spending that much money. I was able to sort of survive on that. And if you have that much money for like 2-3 years, I think that's okay. You can jump into it and like take care of yourself. Yeah.
So moving on from all the technical stuff and moving on to your personal life. So we know that IIT Delhi is one of the most premier institute in India, and then Stanford is one of the most premier institute in the world, right? So how was the transition from a small city in Haryana all the way up to Stanford, and what were the experiences that you gained all through that journey?
Oh man, this is getting really interesting. Okay. My first year at IIT was a struggle. Honestly, it was a struggle. And it was a struggle just because of my own insecurities more than anything else. First of all, I felt people around me are far smarter than me. And the only reason I felt that because they knew programming from 11th and 12th, and I had zero clue. Like I was creating my email ID in my first class at college, right? So I did not have an email ID before that. And everybody around me like was like they were able to write basic code. And now if you ask me what you learn in 11th, 12th is so useless. Like that's like something that you can learn in 2, 3 weeks. If somebody
Right,
teaches you well, that's something that you can learn in 2, 3 weeks. But that's not
right,
how
right,
we think of it, right? Like for us, that's like so much they know. That's like infinite times more than what I know because
right.
I know zero, right? So that was one struggle. Second struggle is I was used to being the topper. I was used to sort of being somebody who is just perfect at studies and academics, right? Like we'll have a lot of fun playing cricket, playing a lot of things, a lot of games in the evening, but like is somebody who will take care of things like in terms of studies. And now it seems like there are people like who are far smarter than me. That was another struggle, right? Like third is obviously living away from home for the first time. That comes with its own sort of struggles. So I think like the first semester was pretty and not to something that I'm definitely not ashamed of, but another sort of issue insecurity I had is that coming in from a small town, I couldn't speak English that well.
Hmm.
That meant that that was a big insecurity in my head, that these people are smarter than me. Like that's how sort of we are wired in
Wired
our
to
head,
do.
right?
Right, right,
Right? Like somebody speaking English is smarter. Like that's bullshit. What you need to be able to do is being able to explain yourself. Whether that is Hindi or English doesn't really matter. But now, if you look at like everybody around me, I was like, कि, "अरे यार मैं तो बोल ही नहीं पा रहा हूँ ये लोग सब basically इतने बढ़िया तरीके से अंग्रेजी बोल रहे हैं." Like I am not able to ask a doubt in the class because I'm afraid that I'll not ask in the right way. So
Hmm.
these are the sort of struggles that like a small town guy when they move into like a college like IIT, right? Like they will have to sort of face sometimes unless they have gone through some sort of special care to make sure that they are sort of adjusted to these things. Uh,
Hmm.
so that was like my first year. I think like by second year everything was absolutely perfect. I sort of realized that all of this is not worth that much. I should not be worried about. I'm pretty smart. I'm able to get decent grades. I don't work too hard for them grade those grades anymore, but I'm still able to get decent grades. And my
Right.
programming is as good as anybody else from whatever effort I put in the first year. So all of that was sort of okay. And I couldn't speak English that well even then, but then I was like, it doesn't really matter, and I sort of realized that as well. So yeah, so second, third year, fourth year, I think it was a mixture of working hard and a lot of fun, a lot of right, like a lot of fun in hostel, in department, like a bunch of things that we have done in terms of work as well, which I'm really proud of. But one thing that I'm definitely not too proud of, and definitely something that I would want everybody out here to do, is to make sure that you have some idea.
Yes, sir, we're agree. Okay.
You back?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think that's how my IIT journey was. Then I sort of joined Amazon, which I'm extremely happy that I ended up in tech. And
Hmm.
because the same day I sort of interviewed with banks, consulting as well. I'm happy I ended up in tech. I One thing I realized at Amazon is that I do want to be in tech. That's something that I enjoy. That's something that I like.
Hmm.
I like the feeling of being able to build something that people are using very, very quickly. But I sort of also sort of realize I'm not enjoying myself that much at Amazon. I like this is too big an organization. I don't feel like whatever I'm doing is significant or like something that I feel is making that much of an impact. So I sort of decided let's do an MS. Let's spend 2 years trying to figure out. Now I have clarity. I want to be in tech. let's now figure out what I want to do, what I would like to do. And with that thought, sort of, I applied for masters and got into Stanford. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you stated earlier, you used to travel to Delhi for your JEE preparations. Right. So, did you ever imagine that you'll be studying in IIT Delhi? Did you ever feel that thing? Were you really inspired after seeing IIT that this is where I belong, or you just went with the flow, as you say?
So I think this is something that was a blessing in disguise, right? In the sense that I did not know how many departments are there. I knew that if you get a rank within 500, you get to go for counseling on day one. That's it. That was my target. That I want to go on day one for counseling. That's what I want to do. I had zero clue after that. I did not know how many IITs are there. I did not know what all departments are there. What are they supposed to do? I think this was a blessing in disguise because when I was learning, when I was during those 11th and 12th period, I never used to think about what it's a rank that I'm going to get, what department I'm going to get. And I was just focused on this is something that I need to do well. Let me just focus on that. And so I didn't have thoughts on whether I want to go to IIT Delhi, which department. I remember I got the rank, which was 122, and I called a teacher of mine and I asked them, should I take electrical or computer science? So IIT, electronics is basically electrical, right? So there were a few people around me who sort of said that electronics is like the evergreen branch. You should go for electronics. I called my teacher and he said that it's your choice, but if you do electrical, it's up to you whether you will take a computer science job post doing electrical or you would like to do computer science and then join a computer science job. So he sort of made it very, very clear to me that finally this is the sort of field that you will be most likely working in. Now it's up to you whether you want to go through a D route or whether you want to go to the straight route to get into that. And it was very clear. So I took computer science. Like I went to the counseling, I was planning to fill in IIT Delhi Computer Science, IIT Bombay Computer Science, IIT Kanpur Computer Science. Like these are sort of ordering that I decided. I got a call from my dad and he told me IIT Delhi Computer Science, IIT Delhi Electrical. उसके बाद जो करना है कर, because I know you will get into one of these two and I don't want you to go outside Delhi. And I like, okay, if that's what you want, okay, I'll do that. And I remember like filling in IIT Delhi Computer Science, IIT Delhi Electrical, hating myself that this is not what I want to do. But I sort of did that. And like I sort of knew that I'll get the first option most likely because the last year before that, I think it was still 160, 170. So I sort of had a feeling that.
Well, that's insurance what AIR 122 gives you, right? At the end of the day, that's the insurance or assurance what you need.
Yeah.
So comparing Stanford and IIT Delhi, I won't talk about academics and scholastics. What difference do you see in the hostel life here and there?
So two things. First of all, I think there is another difference that your bachelor hostel life and your master's hostel life is different in the sense that when you are in bachelor's, you are a lot more free, you have a lot more time, you are a lot more, you make stronger friends at that age as well. Like so, it tends to be far more fun, the hostel life at the bachelor life. Secondly, Stanford is very, very, very hectic. It requires you to work a lot. That automatically means that your sort of fun component of it is a little less. It's very high in the breaks. For example, what that means is, so we used to have quarter system. That meant that you will take 3 or 4 courses and you have only 10 weeks. And in 10 weeks, you will be done. During those 10 weeks, you have to work on projects. You have to give the final exam. You have to give the midterm exam. Right, so it was like completely like you're running in like 1.5x speed throughout for those 10 weeks, right? And then those 10 weeks are then you have like 2 weeks. For those 2 weeks, you are absolutely chilling. Like I made one trip to Hawaii, I made a couple of India trips, I made one trip to Miami, right? Like so, these are like 2 weeks that you really just bring back that energy in yourself, and like then again you go into that same sort of cycle. So I think like the fun component is a little less, but the good part is that I was really enjoying myself in the learning process as well. Which at IIT was definitely a backseat. That was not the focus. At IIT, I used to like find ways to make sure that I have to do minimum amount of work to get the decent grades. I never sort of wanted to get to the best grades. I always wanted to get to that like decent level of grades so that everything sort of this stays okay, but I can chill as much as I want. Yeah.
Okay. So, what according to you was the best part of both the experience, the IIT experience and the Stanford experience?
Okay. Okay. So the Stanford experience, I think definitely the sort of environment that the university provides you, right? Like in the sense that if you stay at Stanford or in that area for 2 years, I can assure you that you will at least 5 times think about that, hey, I want to build something on my own. Whether you do it or not, that's a different story. But everybody at least thinks about it, that I want to do it. Around me, I am absolutely sure there will be not a single person who would not have talked to 2 3 people, hey, let's start something on our own, like they would have had like those 2 3 meetings trying to brainstorm on what are the ideas that they can work upon, and they would have sort of worked upon that, right? So everybody would have done that. So I think that's something that you get when you get into that area. Like my Facebook office was 10-minute walk from my hostel, right? Like, so Google used to be like a 15 20 minute bus ride. So like you have so many amazing people around you, so much amazing work going on. One of my friends built $100 million company while he was at Stanford. Right, like his app was announced by Steve Jobs as one of the best design apps in the WWDC presentations that happen event every year, right? Like so, and when your people around you are doing that sort of stuff, you always feel like ये कर सकता है तो मैं भी तो कर सकता हूँ ना शायद. तो like I can, why can't I do it? Like that's very very inspirational, and that always pushes a lot of people to start something on their own.
Okay.
So that's definitely what I think about the Stanford sort of experience. Yeah.
So what difference do you see between the work life in US and back here in India?
See, I think in the top sort of companies, right, it's not that different in the sense that even in the Indian startups, I think good Indian startup, it's not very different. People tend to get a little unprofessional here sometimes in the sense that the language they might use sometimes, or the amount of effort they might expect the people to put in. I mean, a bunch of other things might be something that you find a little bit of differences. But I think if otherwise, I think it's not that different in terms of the top sort of companies if you're working here or there. When you come to then it obviously depends a lot on the company culture. And as soon as in India, you go from like the best of the startups or best of the companies to the second level, then it's a huge difference between here and the US. Then things become a little unprofessional. That's when the expectation from you sort of becomes very weird in terms of how much time are you spending, are you coming on time or not, right? How are you behaving? Basic things like we should not be calling our bosses sir. We should not be there is no reason to respect a boss more than how much I feel like respecting them, right? So these are sort of things that I think does happen in the sort of second layer here, doesn't really happen in the US. So I think that's the biggest difference that I would say. So
as you started this session by stating about poker, I just want to lighten the mood by saying that we also have a lot of poker players in ESL, IIIT Pune. So would you like to join us someday?
Man, I would love to. I can't tell you. So I am so desperate to basically get onto a table and play. I don't like to play online that much, right? Okay. So I am so desperate to get onto a table and play. So I moved. So in the US, my last 2 years at Facebook, I went to Vegas 5 times in 2 years to play poker. And since I moved back to India, every year I used to go to Goa for 3 days to play poker. I've not been able to go from last 2 years, and I'm so desperate to basically get that corrected and get back onto a table. Yeah.
Right, definitely. So we'll join you for a game of poker soon.
I would love to, man. Yeah.
So, is there a batchmate of Stanford which you admire even now, like the with the kind of things he's doing or she's doing?
See, one thing that I've sort of realized that I would want that a lot of you might realize over time is I have sort of stopped admiring people for what they're doing, right? Like, just because somebody realizes that they're happy with working at a company and they don't want to build something on their own, just because that person doesn't feel like they need to become a VP of engineering somewhere and they're okay being a software developer, I think I would like to admire that person equally as much as, right? Like, because it's their
Right.
life. They sort of know that they are happy with what they have and they don't want more because more requires like sacrificing a lot of other things as well. And they are happy with that, right? So that is at one level. I think, I don't know how easily it's able to understandable, like from everybody. Like, I think what you do with your life is your choice. And you should not try to get admiration from other people. You should do what you really enjoy. I am doing what I'm doing because this is something that keeps me alive, that makes me feel that this is something that I'm super excited about. I did not feel that excitement at Amazon or at Facebook. I
Yeah.
feel that excitement day in, day out. That being said, obviously there are people who are doing amazing job that I'm like amazing work that I'm super proud of. The friend I told you, right? Like he
Hmm.
built that $100 million company, sold it to LinkedIn. Now he's running another startup which basically is in healthcare, helping people in the US with. So there is some sort of like people use in medication. People use some sort of addictive sort of substances which people sort of have hard time getting rid of, and he's sort of helping
Hmm.
people getting rid of that addiction and like working in healthcare startup for that. I think that's super amazing. And then there are people who are doing really hard, deep tech work at Google, at other places as well. Like a batchmate of mine is part of TensorFlow. She is doing amazing work there in terms of the sort of machine learning advancement that they are able to bring in overall, right? Like, and I think like there is one friend of mine who is working in Facebook research lab, the Oculus, the
Hmm.
VR work that they have, right? Like, so that's something that he is part of. So people are doing amazing work, and I think. But overall, I think everybody is doing great, and everybody is extremely happy, and I think that's what's very important. Yeah.
So everyone should be content with whatever he finds happiness in, and that is something which
Right.
he or she should inspire. I think admire. So
Absolutely. So, for example, I think one thing I realized. So a lot of times you will, if you talk to me often, you will find a lot of times me speaking about my brother, who I think really highly of. He once told me that after above a certain amount, if you're earning for the bank, you're not earning for yourself,
okay.
right? And I think if like in my batchmates from Stanford or from IIT, I think they are earning far more than what they really need.
Okay.
Right. And now, if you're not even happy with that and you sort of want to get to the next zero into your net worth, then there is no end to it. You will never be able to be happy and like you just keep going after that. There
Hmm.
are a lot of people who are working towards excellence in their work. I think that's really great, right? That's something that everybody should run after. If you feel like you are content with what you are doing, you enjoy doing that, and you do not want to go further, I think that's absolutely okay as well. Because you are happy with what you are doing, you want to sort of do that, and you're happy with your family life, you're happy with the time you're getting, and like that's something that you, yeah. So definitely, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
So speaking about the family, so how much contribution about yourself do you give to your family? Who you are at present? How much of that belongs to your family? Like starting from the childhood till now. Like what
So
were
I've
the most
already,
like
yeah. So I already mentioned about my brother multiple times, right? Like, so I think
like,
he is definitely a huge inspiration for me. Whenever I sort of feel like I have self doubts in terms of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, he is one of the first people like I sort of go to. I have two elder brothers. Both of them play that role really, really well for me. Uh, and other than that, I think obviously, right? Like in last, like so, I got married in 2014, which was when I did not know what company I want to build, how that will look like,
hmm,
and obviously my wife has seen that sort of period. And as I said, right, like there have been phases when I'm really stressed. There have been phases that when I'm like I don't know what I'm doing, why I'm doing this, and all of that shows up to the other person, right? Like When you are stressed, automatically means that the other person has to sort of take care of you, and that's the part of
Right.
the journey. And like definitely something that you would need that ecosystem around you to support you, right? So yeah, so I think like that is extremely important that you have that layer of friends or family who sort of you can fall back to and give you that cushion that even if you sort of are not in your best behaviors, they will not just beat you and make sure that you sort of get back to that behavior right away. So and otherwise also, right, like helping you in the right decisions, helping you sort of think through the right lenses is equally sort of important.
All right. So during all this, during all this journey, you have seen a lot, and so you uh, there are two ideologies which exist. There is one ideology which says that you should do what you want to do without having a plan B, and there is an ideology which believes that if you have a plan B, then plan A will eventually fail. So, which ideology do you believe?
So in my case, definitely it was the first that I did have a plan B. The plan B was if this does not work out, I'll take a job, which I'm sure I'll get, which will pay me really well. And potentially, plan B was also that maybe I can just move back to the US as well if that's something that I want to do, right? So I definitely had that. Now, I think most of the times, the answer to these sort of questions is it depends. What works for you, right?
Hmm.
If you are a person who you believe will not put in their 100%, which I think doesn't really happen, right? Like if you jump into something, you're not doing anything else, then you will put your 100% and make sure that you are doing your best to sort of take care of it.
Right.
In my case, if I did not have that plan B, if I had a feeling that if this doesn't work, I don't know how I will earn or how whether I will get a job or not. I am
Hmm.
telling you, I don't think I would have survived for this long trying to build this. The reality is, I left my job in 2012, and the first time I started paying myself was 2017. So in between these 5 years, there were a couple of years when I was getting paid like 50, 60,000 rupees, which would be like 2-3% of what I would otherwise make or what I was making in Facebook, right? So like extremely low money just to basically survive myself. Now, I don't think I'll be able to do that if I sort of did not know that it's okay. Like if I want to get a job, that's just here.
Right.
So I needed that plan B to maintain my sanity. I think it sort of depends upon sort of person you are and accordingly you should do it. Yeah.
So, during the times when you faced failure, was it ever that you also had that existential crisis that is it the right thing which I'm doing? Like, do I belong here? Right? Coming from the topmost college, working in the most reputed companies like Facebook and Amazon, and then you ended up creating your own startup. And initially you faced failures. So, was it ever a time that you doubted yourself?
A lot of times. I think like I think I still doubt myself every now and then. Am I thinking large enough? Am I like sort of doing the right thing or not? Right? Like that's something that everybody keeps questioning, and I think that's where a lot of times, for example, I'm able to answer for myself why I'm doing this, and as soon as I think of that, my mind is clear. And a lot of times when I'm not able to answer that for myself, as I said, my cushion, that is my family, will make sure that they sort of tell me, like, but you have already always said that this is what you want. Aren't you already doing that? Then why are you not
Right.
happy? Why do you want to doubt yourself, right? So that's something that is always the case. Uh, I think one thing that I always, so if you would ask me now, what I doubt now is like the amount of stress, the amount of hard work that I'm doing, is it really what I want to do, right? Like
Hmm.
the so for example, a lot of times I find myself struggling that I do not want to think about work. What do I do so that I'm not thinking about work, right? That's a challenge, and that's something that I think almost all the entrepreneurs go through. That they are just constantly thinking about work. So yeah, so I think that's always something that creeps in, and like, but the reality is, I know if you give me a choice today to take a job, I know I'll not survive. I know I'll not. find that rush, find that happiness within me. I love the fact that by the end of Sunday, I am always looking forward to the Monday, right? Which most of the time when I was in my job, I used to hate Sunday evening because I always had that feeling that kal se fir se kaam karna padega, right? So I think that has now changed into that excitement that, oh, Monday, perfect. I can get back to what I love. Yeah. So
So, how much luck factor played a role in your journey?
Huh. See, I think luck definitely plays a role every now and then. Right? Like, for example, things are very, very random. In terms of, for example, the current investors we have, we got connected through somebody who sort of pinged me randomly on LinkedIn. Now, if I start thinking about what if they're not pinged me, what
Right.
if when they asked me to travel 2 hours to come and meet them without having any proper agenda, I decided to still go ahead and meet them and spend that 3 4 hours in traveling? What if I had not done that, right? But the reality is, I think if you stay in the game for long enough, it sort of evens out. There'll be
Mhm.
some lucky moments, there'll be some unlucky moments as well, but you need to stick to the game for a long enough period. A
Correct.
lot of times, whether you succeed as an entrepreneur or not depends upon how much time you try to do it.
Mhm.
The reality is that I started 2012 end and Coding Ninja started 2016. There are 3.5 years in between that,
Mhm.
which had like 5 transitions. My first company, my second company, my third company, my fourth company, and then Coding Ninja. So I had 5 transitions. Each transition is a point where you're thinking, let's go back to job, right?
Right.
Let's go back to job. And every time I was like, no, man, I'm really enjoying this. I still have some money left. Let me just burn that as well. And then I'll sort of think of going back, right? And I sort of just kept it and kept it. Uh, so I think it just depends upon how much time you have, and the luck factor sort of evens out eventually.
So this entrepreneur thing gives you a kick and it motivates you to do stuff for yourself. So discussing about entrepreneurship, what difference do you see between the entrepreneurship which is present in India and the entrepreneurship which you witness maybe in US?
Right. So I think things are getting far, far better here compared to what they used to be like 5 6 years 7 years before. I
Hmm.
still feel that I think one thing that entrepreneurs, to build a culture of entrepreneurs, what you need is a range of or a number of successful entrepreneurs. That's extremely important. When I graduated from college from IIT, we did not have Flipkart, right?
Like,
Right. So Flipkart can be sort of named like the first, sort of like the major startup that came out of India in this sort of generation, right? In the last 1 or 2 decades. Obviously, we have had amazing companies built before that, but like this startup culture of like extremely fast growth and like that sort of thing, I think has Flipkart already the first company. And like once that sort of succeeded, that inspired few people to do it. Then that inspires few more people to do it. And I think that slowly and steadily, like just like having more and more people means that I will be able to find the right mentors who I can ask the
hmm,
questions. I will be able to find the right amount of funding because more startups are succeeding. That means more investor money is coming in. So it's sort of like a circle which basically feeds itself and things
hmm,
keep getting better. I still feel that one issue that is still there is we don't have as many good incubators as you will find in the US, right? Like somebody starting new wants a lot of support system that if
hmm,
these incubators can provide, which I don't think is that much available in India.
right. So as you stated about the startups and these startups are increasing, what we witness these days that the unicorn companies are increasing every year, right? And but the unicorn companies which come out from India are mostly IT-based companies as compared to. So why is that the IT industry is making such huge leaps and no other industry is capable of doing that?
So, see, I think first is just at the pace at which IT industry is able to move is amazing, right? Like just imagine, for example, when I moved back to India or even 2 years later, which is like 2014, 15, right? We still used to call restaurants and order our food. Now that sounds so lame. That
Right.
sounds like, why would you do that? That is so lame. You have to sort of find their menu first, then you have to make a call, then you have to explain the person, then basically you have to explain your address. And right, like it's so painful. Why would anybody do that? And like having like this technology of being able to, which is extremely simple. I'm sure hundreds of people thought about it before Zomato or Swiggy did it. But like just the fact is that this basic technology has improved our life so much. We order food so often, and that experience has completely changed now because of this, right? So I think that's amazing. And like the fact that I just need a phone, which everybody has, and I can download the app is so easy, right? Like, so my
Right.
product is available to be downloaded over internet means I have far more reach. Whereas if I had a hardware product that I want to sell, now that's a very different story, right? People can't experience it and then sort of start using it. They will have to take the leap of faith. This will be a good product. Let me order it, right? In case of
Right.
technology, it's just there, right? Like you can just experience it. If you like it, you sort of buy into that.
So that is
And
one thing
it's,
which I
yeah,
heard in one of your interviews, which where you stated that when you were working on that Facebook timeline thing, that the power which internet has, that it releases your
yeah,
product in just a single click all around the world.
right, right. I think that's crazy, right? Like that's something that when I told you that when I joined Amazon and I realized that tech is what I want to do, this was the reason behind that. The feeling that I am doing some changes, I'm working on something that
Mm.
gets live right away, and I get the feedback right away, and like hundreds and thousands of people, millions of people are using it is amazing. And that's not something that can happen. Like any other industry is not able to move that fast.
Correct.
Yeah.
So personally, how difficult was this decision for you to leave such a reputed job and come here to India?
Not much, not much. The reality is, I knew I can always get that job back, right? So it didn't feel like. I always say that one-way roads you should always be very, very careful in taking. But this didn't feel like a one-way road. This felt like something that I can take, and I can take a U-turn if I don't enjoy that road, and I can come back to this, right? So it was not that hard a decision.
Okay.
I do have a strong bias for action. That means if I feel like doing something, and if that's just bothering me for a little bit of time, that this is something I really want to do, I think
Mhm.
I tend to sort of just do it. So, right. So I think it was not that hard, right? Like, so I tell a lot of people that whether you do an MBA or an MS, that's something that's a one-way road. It will be very hard for
Correct.
you to justify to yourself that let me do an MBA and then I'll get back and like decide whether I want to do a tech job or a non-tech job, right? Like that'll be very weird for you to justify to yourself.
Right.
So that's something that you need to be careful about. But I think this was an okay. And I think I've said this multiple times, but I was really inspired by a talk by Jeff Bezos, where he sort of said that uh, he sort of said he made a framework for decision making, which he calls regret minimization framework. Right? I absolutely loved the way he sort of explained that. Right? Just do what you feel will lead to less regret later. And I knew if I don't start something, I will feel the regret that yeah, this is something that I wanted to do. I did not do it.
Could you
Right?
explain
So
that regret minimization framework for our audience because I don't know most of them would know that.
right. So what he said is very, very simple, right? Like, so what he said is that if you have doubt whether you want to take a decision or not, right? Like whether you want to take some action or not, think about both the direction and think about 1 year, 2 year down the line,
Hmm.
would you regret not doing A or will you regret not doing B, right? For me, the question was, if I decide to do a startup and it does not work, will I regret my decision more compared to if I don't do it and the regret that I'll have it then? And to me, the
Hmm.
answer was very clear that even if I do it and I don't succeed, it does not matter because I will still get decent amount of money coming back to a job. and I would not have missed much. I have enough money to take care of myself for a few years. So I think I'll be okay. But on the other hand, when I thought of if I don't do a startup,
Hmm.
and I'm doing this job, I continue doing this for 2 3 years, I was very very clear that hey, you are going to regret this. You will always feel
Right.
that I really wanted to do it, and you will start feeling now, oh no man, now I'm married, I don't want to do this, now I
Hmm.
have this responsibility, I don't want to do this, right? Like a lot of people do it post getting married as well. I have sort of continued doing it post getting married as well. But I think as you get more responsibility, your sort of risk taking capabilities sort of do go down.
Okay, so I just want to add a quick quote to that. That Jeff Bezos says that he knows Amazon will eventually die someday, but his job is to elongate that period before it dies. So, what is your take on that? What do you feel about it?
Right. So, see, I think will every company die someday? I think very likely yes. Right. Like there have been companies like Coca-Cola which has been around for so long, but the reality is that someday somebody will make something which will basically get Coca-Cola out of business. Right. Like similarly, I hope that whatever we are doing at Coding Ninjas, we have sort of like the way people were learning online, I think we have improved that a lot compared to what it was done, how it was done before us. And I really hope that like 15 years from now, I hope it's 15, 20 years from now, and like not 3 4 years from now, somebody will completely change things and they will like find a completely new amazing way of effective way of teaching online that potentially if we don't adapt to, that will lead to that we will not be able to survive, right? Like, so I totally
Right,
agree with that. I think it's just about how agile you are, how easily you are able to adjust to the new normal, the new technologies that are coming in, and that just means that how long you will survive. If you are not ready for change, then you will not survive too long.
I hope Coding Ninjas does the change in the teaching, surely 15, 20 years down the line.
Yeah, man.
Coding Ninja should be the one who finds a way. So, do you still feel that time is less and you have a lot of more things to do, which they kind of thought every bachelor gets? Or now the things are segmentized and you have a pretty much balanced timetable to follow, or you have your goal set up in front?
So I think one thing that is different now compared to the first 2 3 years is I think I'm a little more secure in terms of uh, like I have a great team now. Previously, it was like a lot of things I had to take care of, or a lot of things depended upon one single person. Right now, I think
Hmm.
there's a great team which is in place who is taking care of things really well. So overall, I think that is there, but that doesn't mean that the work is less. It just means that whenever you feel work is less, automatically the answer is that let's try this as well, right? Like let's try
Hmm.
some new thing, and that automatically means that you will get more work for yourself. So I think
Right.
that's always the case, and my schedule currently looks like something like a 9 9:30 to 8 8:30. On I take Sundays off. I don't take Saturdays off generally. That's my normal schedule. But the one thing that I wish I was able to do is not think about work beyond that. But that's
Right.
something that I think is not something that any of us will be able to do if they are sort of really passionate about or really care about what they're trying to do. So I
Right.
think that's something that I just enjoy. And the good part again is that I don't wait for Friday. I don't wait for Saturday. I am pretty happy with each day as it comes. I do enjoy my work. I think that's very important.
So, connecting to something which you said earlier, that people should be aware of what they should do, rather, they should take the charge of their own life, right? But in the present case, we are seeing that more younger and younger students are being forced to do coding in schools, right? So, what is your take on that? What is the right time which you feel that this is the perfect time for anyone to decide that he should do coding or not?
Right. So I don't think I have the popular opinion. The popular opinion is that kids should not code when they are in school. I
Hmm.
believe they should. I think, see, saying that, hey, you will become a computer scientist,
Hmm.
that's what you're going to do, right? That is wrong. But
Correct.
them learning coding is not. That's like saying, that we should not teach physics in school because not everybody is going to become a physicist, right? Now we are all used to people learning physics in school,
Right.
right? If you think about that from that perspective, why is coding so bad? It's a new subject. Think about, it's a new subject, like physics, and everybody has to learn physics. Now the question is coding as important as physics that it should be taught in school or not? I'm not suggesting that everybody should become a computer scientist, right? But I believe that our dependence on computers is increasing. The way we work is getting more and more dependent on computers.
Okay.
If everybody knows a little bit of programming, they will be able to do better job at anything that they do. A reporter will be able to do better data crunching, will be able to do better reporting if they know a little bit of programming. I think a doctor will be able to do a little better if they know a little bit of data analysis, if they are able to program small codes and able to see that when like I'm doing this, like what is the sort of trend and like what exactly is going on, right? Like, so I think like these are the sort of things that every profession would require eventually, and knowing a little bit of programming is going to become knowing maths. The way you have to do maths day in, day out, I think you will be doing a little bit of programming. That's how I think the future is going to look like. I don't think we should sort of tell kids that you should make an app that will make you a millionaire at 10 or at 12, right? I think that's a wrong message. That's a completely wrong message. That's again making people feel bad about themselves that they are not able to achieve something. I think that's absolutely wrong. You should not try to tell people that at the age of 10 or 12 you can become a software engineer and make 2 CR or 3 CR or 4 CR. I think that's absolutely bullshit. We should not allow people to sort of put these sort of standards in front of our kids that they feel like failures when they are not able to get there. But I think what has happened is these wrong marketing techniques have sort of led to one thing, the base of it. It has corrupted that. It has put a question mark on that, which I think is extremely wrong.
Right.
These are two different questions. One, is coding bad for kids? Or putting all those expectations or doing marketing from that type, is that bad for kids? Second, I definitely agree. I think it's not the right way to market. I think we are putting wrong expectations on the kids, wrong expectations on the parents as well. The first, I think every kid should learn a little bit of coding. When totally up to them. I think whenever they sort of feel ready, a little bit of aptitude, a little bit of math, right, they should take up. I have 2 nephews, I have 2 nieces. 2 of my nieces are like 8th and 5th grade. They are pretty good with Python. They are able to do decent amount of programming. Both of them really enjoy it. They are after my life that what can I learn next? What can I learn next? I always tell them that take it slow, but they are always after my life that they want what is the next thing that they can learn. They sort of started with Scratch, they did a little bit of robotics, now they want to get into Python. Right? Now they enjoy doing that. They want to do it. They just feel that it just uses their mind a lot more than whatever they are learning in school. So yeah, I think, but it's their choice. If they getting them introduced was my choice, but once I introduced them, whether they want to sort of move ahead with that, that's totally their choice.
Like, it's good to give them a window to explore, but forcing a will upon a student, that is wrong.
Absolutely.
So what was the lowest point in your life up till now? What was the lowest point?
Okay. So I think I can think of 2. The first one was not related to career or anything else. So that was more of like what all of us when we are growing up sort of go through. That let's not get into that. Let's avoid that. The second one will be more of I think like when I had to shut down or like when I had to part ways from my previous startup and like sort of when I started coding, I think that was extremely hard for me. That was something that I really had to go through a lot of struggle in terms of now there are like 4 years I've spent. Do I want to continue doing it? I had a sort of an interesting opportunity coming in from a VC fund because I had experience of running startups. They wanted me to sort of invest in startups now. and that sounded like a really cool opportunity. I always had this option of getting back into like the job that I was doing earlier. So that was a really hard struggle. I had built something, then I was not able to sort of continue on that because of some sort of issues between the founders, and I think like that was extremely painful. So that is like I would say must be the most painful point. Yeah.
Like a lot of people are chatting, commenting in the chat box that they want to join Coding Ninjas as soon as they finish their BTech. I don't know. They're pretty much, they're crushing on you right now. So,
Okay.
so what was the most primemost point of your career in contrast to that?
See, I think there are two things. One thing that what I would say is I'm extremely proud of, or one is something that has sort of set the path, right? I think sadly our system is such that me getting that JE rank and getting into IIT Delhi Computer Science, I would say that has really set the path for me, right? Like I think it's very it would be very strange or very you will not find many examples where you will not be able to you will be able to find somebody from there. They would not have reached a place where you will say they are successful, right? Like everybody from my batch is doing something where I would say they are successful. They are making decent amount of money, they are happy, they are doing if they want to do something else, it's their choice. They are doing what they want to do, right? So I think that has set the path. In terms of what I'm really proud of, I would definitely say Coding Ninjas. I'm extremely proud of Coding Ninjas. I think in the last 5 years, we have taught more than 50,000 students. And I'm extremely proud of the fact that the way we have built the company, we are not a sales and marketing company, which a lot of edtech companies are.
Right.
Our focus as a company has always been far more on the student experience, on the learning, and that has really worked well for us in the sense that the only reason we did not have to take funding in the first 4 years is that we never had to spend much to acquire students, to never had to spend much to basically get students to come to us. We were always able to get more and more students because the students learning from us will get us more students, right? And so personally, I am extremely proud of what we have done at Coding Ninjas, what we have built. Just because of the fact that I know anybody learning through us will have a life-changing experience when they go through our programs and they sort of learn that. Yeah.
So, do you see Coding Ninjas as your child or do you see it as your friend?
Oh, I definitely see it as my child. Yeah, definitely. That's because it's my responsibility. It's not Coding Ninja's responsibility to take care of me. It's my responsibility to take care of Coding Ninjas, right? And I truly see myself as an employee of Coding Ninjas, like almost 100 people others. I don't, and that is very important because I make sure that I am not taking any decision or anybody else is not taking any decision, which is in favor of them, not in favor of the company, right? So it's very important to sort of realize that this is something that we need to take care of. It's not supposed to take care of us.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we have come to the end of the session, sir. Unfortunately, but yes. So
yeah.
Is there any parting message that you want to give to all of our viewers?
So two things, right? Like as I think I would just like to repeat one thing that I said earlier as well, that please make sure that you get to a level in terms of your skill set that you are confident about yourself, about your capabilities, where you sort of, then it will be a place where you will be able to do decisions like, hey, do I want to build something on myself? Do I want to take a job? Do I want to work with this company or that company? That's the kind of space that you want to be in. That's the kind of space where you will be able to do great things. That's the kind of space where you will feel happy because you will feel that you are the one who is in control of yourself. You are the one who is deciding how you want to spend your time. I'm telling you, that is one of the biggest factor in whether people are happy or not. A lot of people are extremely happy at Facebook while working there because Facebook gives you that feeling of you decide what you want to do. I was able to change my team within Facebook very easily. I was told what project you want to work upon. These are the sort of things when you decide yourself, you are always far more happy because you feel you are the one you are who is deciding how you want to spend your time, and nobody else is sort of giving you that answer. I
Right.
think that is something that you need to get to, where you sort of feel that you are in control of your own time. Yeah. So just work on your skill and make sure that you do well. I think things will work out. Yeah.
This was Mr. Ankush Singla, people. He tells us to build our skill set and take control of our own life. And I'm sure all of you must be living with a lot more wisdom as compared to what you had before we had this session. It was a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Same here, man. Really, really enjoyed this, and I think you are a great, great, great anchor. Like you sort of asked like amazing questions, and I really enjoyed having this conversation. I also hope that everybody who sort of saw this learned something and sort of got some inspiration to excel at whatever they are doing and sort of get the insights accordingly. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. The pleasure was all ours, and we'll surely see you again in future, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye bye, sir. Before we end, I would like to quote Paulo Coelho, and he says that it is always important to know when something has reached its end. Closing circles, shutting doors, finishing chapters. It doesn't matter what we call it. What matters is to leave in the past those moments in life that are over and start on a new adventure. I'm Suryansh, and this was the episode 4 of Breaking Conventions, powered by JustPay in association with Algo University. Thank you everyone for attending. Do join us tomorrow for the season finale where we host the charismatic Aman Dattawal. Until then, stay safe and take care. Bye bye.